Judy WTF, and I know that I have some new people as my audience because my time has changed, and I used to do the show at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and now it's 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So hopefully I'm getting more of the people back east having the ability to tune in at a reasonable hour, which would be probably what, 7 p.m. your time. And then of course we have people across the world, and I have no idea what time zone you're in. What I do really appreciate is for you to call in. So rather than just chat in and ask questions, let's get on the couch together and analyze, mind map, and talk about deliberate dating, because that is the topic of today. Deliberate dating. Why this show? Because I'm so sick and tired personally also of going on bad dates, of trying to convince myself that something's going to work for me when it's not, trying to be nice about it and make deal breakers into I don't know what, but nobody wants to end up with the deal breaker and then a broken heart and then a lot of angst about breakup and financial distributions and breaking up families and friendship connections and so on. So I would rather that you learn how to date deliberately. And dating deliberately, the mind map way, is what we're going to talk about because there's a lot more to it than just picking somebody who plays tennis like you do or has similar interest in golf like you might, or likes animals or doesn't like cats or doesn't like, there are all these variables. But the main thing is that you have to take on a person that you know is going to be a good fit for you. And most people are not going to be a good fit for you. That's why we go through tons of people, interviewing them, dating them, trying them on for size, and so on. So, the first thing that I want to talk about is the mental health of the person. So, we're dating the mind map way. What does that mean? We want to know, what is your mental health? Because if you're going to date me, I want to know that you are able to control your impulses, that you don't have any particular addictions or any addictions, that you're living a more or less healthy lifestyle, that you are financially secure enough to be a partner, that you treat other people well. And so these are just some of the basics. And where does that come from? From the blueprint. And who is the blueprint of our life? Our family of origin, our mother, our father, grandmother, grandfather, uncle, aunt, school teachers, so on, but mostly our mother, our father. So, how do you know if you're mentally dating somebody that is stable enough? First of all, before we go point the finger at who are they and what are they and how are they, let's look in the proverbial mirror and see who we are and how we are, because in essence we can't be asking for mental stability and no addictions and financial stability and talents and physical health and all of that if we are not stepping up to the plate. So I remember years ago I saw I think it was a TED talk, and it was a woman, I don't remember her name, I'm sure you can look it up. And she said that the first thing that she decided to do when she went back into the dating scene is to date herself. And she went through a process of making sure that she's good enough to be a good date. And so she observed how she is, who she is, what she is, and she started dating herself and took everybody out of the picture and wanted to make sure that she had all of the qualifications that she was asking of the other partner. And nothing's going to ever be perfect. However, you want to grow yourself into a human being that is of the light. So if you look at my mind map, you will see panel number one, and you'll see panel number one has a lot of darkness and a lot of light. And that light represents the best of your best. It represents your full potential. Maslow's definition of self-actualization. It's your growth realized, your growth potential. And then all the dark spots from a mind map perspective are all the wounds of childhood and all the things that trip you up so that you do not grow. And one of the things that certainly trip people out of their growth, away from their growth, is choosing a partner that is going to vampire their energy, choosing a partner who is less than and a burden and somebody that you have to fix and take care of. I don't recommend it. I was just talking about that in therapy with actually a young lady, and we were talking about where the cause comes from for other children to not be well. And she finally understood that it came from the parents. And so we were talking about how in order to fix the child, we have to fix the parent. And that's a big job. And not only the parents, but we've got to fix the whole multi-generational cultural wounds that visit us and wreak havoc on our life. So step number one, you want to date yourself. You want to make sure that the person that you are dating has healed their childhood wounds. So let's go through it very carefully so that you know what wounds I'm referring to and how they may manifest in the in their relationships, and particularly you're interested in how they're going to manifest their relationship with you. So here are the 5 or 6 childhood wounds I refer to. Number 1, verbal abuse. Parents that name call, put children down, yell and scream, swear, anything that relates to verbal abuse. The second wound is physical abuse. If you have a partner or you've been beaten by your parents and you have been physically abused, then you've got to fix that in yourself and make sure that your partner has fixed that in him or herself. The third is emotional neglect. So what is emotional neglect? If somebody's been neglected by their parents and they're not connected to their parents and they don't have the ability to feel whole and complete because they have no ability to receive love and to give love because there's lack of empathy, there is an emotional abuse and neglect there as well. And then, of course, we know there's sexual abuse. If somebody has been sexually abused, it very well may impact your sex life. So these are the main wounds. And then, of course, there's control and smothering. What is that? Well, when you've been spoiled and controlled as a child, when you have been rewarded for things that you haven't earned, that's a quality that you don't want to take on in another person, because they may demand to be spoiled and they may not know how to earn their way and participate, and they may just be passively wanting and expecting. And that brings me to the narcissistic wound, which is the lack of empathy, the entitlement, the inability to really give and receive and share with a partner. These are sort of what you really want to be looking for, not only in yourself, but in your partner. So hopefully if you're watching this YouTube episode, you've learned something. And if you haven't learned anything from my books, my previous video, hopefully you'll learn something tonight. And to make this learning process quicker, I recommend that you read my PDF, Be the Cause, Healing Human Disconnect. You can also pick it up at Amazon. And Be the Cause is exactly what I'm talking about. It's the mind map, it's the blueprint, it's the system gone wrong, it's the parents that are messed up that then pass their generational wounds down to you. And then what happens is, unfortunately, you end up doing what I call a 𝗦𝗛𝗏𝗏, which means you pick a partner that's similar to your parents and you enter into a dysfunctional relationship. And then you keep repeating the pattern again and again and again, and you don't really end up growing, or you don't end up with a growth partner. So moving to panel number 2, this represents the amygdala. So you could see the shattered glass. It's a metaphor for a shattered psyche. It's also a metaphor for impulse, lack of control of your impulses. The amygdala is the fight, flight, freeze, fawn part of the brain. And if you have not been soothed enough, if you've been abused in childhood, or your partner has been exposed to all kinds of abuse, you might see that their amygdala flares up way too often. So you might see it in the form of road rage. You might see it in the form of acting out and being impulsively rageful or impulsively, well, we'll get to the defenses later, so I'll leave that to the defenses. But for now, just understand that you don't want somebody that is emotionally dysregulated. Somebody who's emotionally dysregulated doesn't know how to calm themselves down, so they may latch on to you to calm down. A little of that is normal because we're there in each other's lives to be their support system and their backbone. But if they're just glomming on, that's not a good idea. Do we have a question in the chat room?
We do.
Okay.
Okie doke. And make sure if you have a question, you can ask directly to Dr. Judy by calling 323-524-2599. You don't even have to use her name, but just ask directly a question from you to her. The question we have in the chat room is, how does deliberate dating through the MyMap method promote self-awareness and personal growth in the context of relationships?
Very much so, because the first part of what I've been talking about is know thyself, know where you're wounded, grow through your wounds, process them, pick a growth partner who is also going to want to take this journey. Look, nobody's perfect, right? So the mind map offers you a pathway to healing and a pathway eventually. The goal here is panel number 7. So let me give you a preview to where you're going. Panel 7 is what I call the synergy panel. It's the paradigm shift panel where you've got a healthy me. Let's say that's the blue bubble. A healthy me, a healthy enough person who's processed their stuff, and another healthy me. Let's call that the yellow bubble. And the yellow bubble and the blue bubble get together, and when they get together, there is light. Why is there light? Because you're coming to the relationship table, bringing it. Okay, you've heard the term, what are you bringing to the table? Well, bring it to the table. If you're having a meal, you want to bring something to the table. Flowers, food, conversation, helping set the table, something. You got to bring something to the table. If you're not bringing anything to the relationship table, then what are you going to do? Just sit there and be fed, and somebody's going to clean up after you, and somebody's going to meal plan for you? I mean, that's kind of boring. And not only is it boring, the opposite of this synergistic panel is the vampiring effect. And the vampiring effect is when you're in a relationship that sucks you dry. And I'm sure some of you have been in relationships that suck you dry. By the time you're out of the relationship, you feel tired, you feel sick, your body hurts, your headache, your backache, you just feel like you want to die. But sometimes you're so addicted to the person, or you're so addicted to the lifestyle, or you're so scared because you have children or money or property involved. It's almost more sickening to think of dissolving the relationship than it is to just bear it and grin and bear it and eat it and continue the toxicity of it. And so that's why it's so important to do the work before. I'm all about prevention. And one of my favorite quotes in my book is a quote by Einstein that says, let me think how he says it. So it's kind of like an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. or smart people solve problems. Geniuses prevent them. Okay, so that's why we're having a discussion. Deliberate dating, you're not just haphazardly dating. Oh, I'm dating somebody. Why? Oh, she's hot. Why are you dating him? Oh, he's rich. Oh, why are you dating this one? Oh, well, yeah, we love golfing together. I mean, those are nice things to have. It's just that it's not the whole enchilada, is it now? Okay, so deliberate dating means dating somebody healthy, being somebody healthy, dating somebody who has some level of impulse control. Imagine dating somebody who has no impulse control. You're out in public, they get angry, next thing there's a brawl and somebody's smashing their head inside the wall, upside some restaurant wall. I've had that happen, by the way, so I know what I'm talking about here. So that's me being married to somebody that had no impulse control. Not a good idea. And so you don't want the drama and the trauma of the fallout material of dating somebody with no impulse control. This could also look like road rage. It can look like insults. It could look like spending and being frivolous and not thinking things through and having no real plan with money or career and so on. So you do not want to date somebody impulsive. So if we move to panel number 3, you could see that panel 3 looks like a DNA strand. So when you are deliberately dating, you want to embroil yourself, or basically you want to entangle yourself, if you will, with somebody who is going to be a growth partner. If you entangle with somebody that is weak-minded, sick, narcissistic, low impulse control, addicted, so on, so forth, evil, mean-spirited, well, you're not doing yourself any service. And of course, if you're any of those things, you've got some work to do on yourself. So deliberately dating means that you don't embroil yourself and entangle yourself with a person that is not going to hold up over time. So panel 3 is the first encoding, and it represents the system gone wrong. It represents unconscious dating, non-deliberate dating. So now you're just dating because you've got this in common or that in common, or you're attracted, or you're dating because your parents told you to date this person, or you're dating because you're needing the rent to be paid and they have money. So these are not the right reasons to date, because that particular system, the first DNA, is unsustainable. And over time, it will definitely fall apart. There's no way it'll hold up over time. You might fake it till you make it for a little, but just let's watch what happens. If there's no consciousness of a well-matched person that's done the work, let's take a look at what happens in panel number 4. So we see panel number 4 is just a bunch of chaos. And I know we've got a couple of questions in the chat room, but go ahead. But this is what happens when you don't date deliberately. See, it all falls apart. So what are the questions?
Well, one said or asks, does this same concept apply to friendships?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, because again, the people that we surround ourselves with are either growth partners or they're going to take away from us. So I think many of you have had the experience of unbalanced friendships where you're the one always calling, you're the one always remembering their birthday and buying gifts and driving and paying for the restaurants and so on. Well, that's not going to really enhance you. That's not a growth partner. So look, there are different ways of participating in a friendship. Somebody doesn't have a lot of money. fine. So you eat at restaurants maybe that are not that stressful for the other person. So you make up for it, but you don't become a pig and take advantage of the other person and just dive into their pocketbook and suck them dry or suck up their time and go on endlessly about all of your woes without sitting back and saying, hey, I've talked a lot about what's going on with me. How are you? What's going on in your life? I'm interested. So do you see, it's got to be a two-way street. If it's not a two-way street, whether it's a friendship, a business relationship, a romantic relationship, it's not going to work. So good question. What was the other question?
Yes. So it says, how do you measure success or the progress of your clients when using the mind map when it's specifically for dating experiences?
That they understand that they are, first of all, when I do the mind map, I do a whole clearing or cleaning of all of the childhood wounds. That's the first step in the mind map system, as we go through all of the abuses and the neglects and make sure that they're not using their partner to heal the hole in the soul. Okay. So once they're in pretty good shape, then they may be ready to date. And what I look for is, was that what the question? What do I look for?
How do you measure success or progress with clients using the mind map in dating experiences?
Dating, that they're not repeating old patterns, that they're not addictively dating somebody that is filling a hole in the soul just because they're doing the what the Freud and repeating old patterns, that they're dating somebody that's enhancing them and that they're enhancing the partner as well. It's really boiling down to the 1+1 is greater than 2 system. So I look for a lot of things. First of all, I believe in dating to mate. I don't believe in casual dating and getting together and gluing yourselves together sexually before you have established that you have enough values in common and lifestyle in common and time in common and religion in common, even politics. If these are important things to have in common, you want to consider all of these things. So we've got to be smart about this. You're not going to put people together who are intellectually a mismatch unless it works for them. Or economically, if people are too mismatched, it might create money problems. Or if they're mismatched in their politics, it may lead to arguments. If they're mismatched in their religions and traditions, it may lead to feeling isolated or alienated from the other person's family. So we have to be practical, and this is not racist. It's not what's the word? Exclusionary. This is common sense. You want to be with your like-minded people. And if you choose somebody that's not religiously a match or culturally a match, that's perfectly fine, as long as you understand how the differences are going to enhance each other, because maybe they could, or how they may destroy the relationship, and know how you're going to deal with it. Everything is about being proactive, as long as you know what you're getting into. That's a pretty good rule of thumb. But when I'm looking for progress or outcome, I'm really looking for the end of a repetitive what the Freud cycle, that they're no longer picking narcissists because their parents were narcissistic, or they're no longer people pleasing their partner because they feel less than, or they're no longer being triggered by negative core beliefs because their father called them stupid. So we want to make sure that the relationship ground is a ground for joy, attraction, progress, compatibility, safety, family. So this is how I would evaluate the dating and the progress with my patients. Any other questions in the chat room?
Yes, there are.
Anybody want to call in? Wait a minute.
Yes, please call in.
I've spoiled you guys.
I
Now I
know.
just take questions in the chat room, and I'm sitting here all by myself talking to the chat room questions. I want to hear you. Call in. I promise I'll make it comfortable for you. I used to get a lot of call-ins. I think I've just actually, I'll take responsibility. I spoiled people, and now they just want to ask questions, which is fine too. It's just that I like to talk to people. I'm in the business of
She's a
talking.
people person.
I'm a people person. Yes.
Well, this one actually kind of goes back to the people person. What and they're asking, how do two people with two different personalities that are dating use the mind map system? Because I get that, you know, one's an introvert, one's an extrovert, one's, you know, A type, and one's, you know, it's so how does that work?
You have to find the point of synergy. So if somebody's an introvert and the other one's an extrovert, they know they want to learn how to play a better game of life given who they are. So maybe one will socialize more and the other will kind of listen more. You know, in an ideal world, we become a little bit more like our partners over time, because hopefully our partners have something that we love that they're bringing to us, and maybe we want to be a little bit more like them. Maybe we want to be a little bit cleaner, neater. So maybe we want to be a little bit more extroverted. Maybe we want to be a little bit more daring. Maybe we want to be a little bit more athletic. So it's sort of like being open to the idea that we can grow from our partners. And then whatever let's say you've got a left brain person who's really good at math, and then an artistic person who's really creative. Well, the left brain person can maybe do all the finances, and the right brain person can do all the decorating or the vacation experiences and so on. So I think there could be synergy in differences. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've got to be copycats of each other, as long as you don't rub each other the wrong way. Any other questions in the chat room?
Actually, we have a phone call.
Wow.
I know.
I'm impressed. Okay. Hello. Thank you so much for.
Hi, Dr. Judy.
Hi. And what?
I love your show.
I'm sorry?
I love your show.
Thank you very much.
I love your books, and I love the mind map. I own that too, and it's really helped me a lot.
I really, really appreciate your saying that. Have you've read the book, I assume?
Yes, I've read both of your books. Yes.
Okay, which books?
I love them both.
Which books have you read?
I read the mind map book. Have you got more than two? I should have checked.
Well,
and the other one was about the incredible story that you wrote about going to Israel, and it was just so powerful.
It's so crazy because it's actually happening. I wrote a book, and you guys could email me about it. It's called Lucid Darkness, and it was about a psychologist who came back from Israel lecturing about creating a united humanity. And that was her goal.
Yes, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful book. That has stayed with me forever. I'm going to reread it again. I've already read it twice, but it stays with you. It's a beautiful story of development and courage. You know, I'm recently widowed. Well, recent for me is 4 years during COVID, and I've started dating very recently, and I find it very challenging, and I want to do it consciously. The dynamics, like recently I dated one fellow 3 times, and we had a very lovely time. He was very conscious. He was divorced. He'd done his work. He could talk about, you know, without, you know, slandering his ex-wife. He could own his stuff. And so it was really lovely, light. We never held hands even. It was just really lovely. I like to move slowly. I am a religious woman. And, you know, I was so surprised when he came back and said yesterday that his mother said, no, we cannot date anymore, that she didn't like it.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, so
and keep in mind, we are both 60 and 61.
Wow, that mother has a lot of power. So I would want to do some mind mapping on this gentleman. Why is his mother ruling his life? Is, you know, the first question
Yes.
in mind. Why is he such a mama's boy? And why, you
Yeah.
know, why, I'm just curious, why didn't the mother like it? What was the objection?
She didn't say. She just said that absolutely not. He's not to do it. And he's been divorced for 12 years. And apparently, from what I've heard from him, is that they're not close. But he is submitting to her. And I wondered, you know, my feelings about it was kind of I was so sad because we were at least friends. We were lovely friends, and it was going someplace, you know.
Well, you
and
know,
boy,
I'm kind of a detective, and I'm going to try to get to the bottom of it. So I've got some questions.
Okay, good luck.
So I want to know. Okay, so number one, do you know anything about the mother? Was she narcissistic? Was she possessive of her son? I mean, it sounds maybe yes. Well, what do you think? Or
I can't tell what's up. He doesn't talk about her much, except with a kind of a disdain, which is discomforting. But I just took it that his mother was kind of not. I don't know. I made assumptions, and but he seems to say, he'll say, oh, that's so-and-so over there. She is my spiritual mother. And that's in reference to the religion. But I thought, well, why does anyone need a spiritual mother? So there was a few clues that there was something up with the mom. I was so surprised when he allowed such triangulation at the age of 61, you know, like it was a turn off, I have to admit, you know.
Well, good. I'm really glad that you got turned off because
thank you. I was embarrassed to say that, but I'm so glad that you're okay with it.
I'm really okay. Goodbye. If his mother is more important than his values and his judgments, then he hasn't what I call separated and individuated, and maybe his mother has an investment in his staying single, because narcissistic parents do. They'd rather have it be all about mommy, 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 me, and they don't want a girlfriend or a new wife to run any kind of importance or interference in the time that they could have with their son.
Wow.
So that's one.
Well, maybe I'm saved from a very difficult situation. He is a farmer with his dad. He seems very close to his dad, but again, not warm, but they work together. They both have farms, ranches, but they pitch hit for each other a lot, you know, which is lovely. I love family. I grew up in a large extended family.
Are you Canadian?
I am.
I figured as much because I lived in Montreal for many, many years of my life. So I could tell the accent.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's try to see if we can get to the bottom of this. Are you similar religion?
Yes.
Are you similar economically?
I may be better off. I mean, he's very successful, but I may be a little bit more educated and more well off.
Okay, that was my next question. Is there a big discrepancy in your IQ, level of education, sophistication?
No, and he's as fit as a fiddle. That's probably very Canadian sounding. And he's so smart. He's very, very clever. And he's a really hard worker and just very mature, very, very mature.
But what I really...
He almost seems self-raised, yeah.
You know what I really don't like about him without knowing him, just by what you're saying, I really don't like that he just so quickly dropped you without discussing it with you, without having a mind of his own on it and exploring why his mother's so important in his choice of a woman. I never will get to the bottom of it because those are things that I would want to ask him, obviously. But did he
Mhm.
just sort of say goodbye, good luck, we're not going to be together? Did he terminate?
He didn't terminate. He became cold and distant, and I could tell something was up. And it brought up more issues between us in a very short relationship, 3 days. So what he did do is he became cold and distant. I said to him, I said, did something happen? Did somebody whisper in your ear? Or I just noticed such a big difference. No, nobody. No, 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 no. And then 2 days later, he said to me, he said, I lied to you. Yes, my mother spoke. It was death to our relationship. That's the way he put it. She put the kibosh, and I pulled back. I did. I pulled way back because I didn't want to deal with the mess. And I thought, ew. You know, I just thought, well, he's 61 and handling things like immediately. I know what I would have done, and I maybe shouldn't self-reference, but I would have, if anybody came within the sanctity of my relationship with another, I would say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Unless you have a really clear concern, like they're an axe murderer, then please just get out, back up.
No,
but he didn't do that.
I know this sounds terrible to your ears, but I'm really happy for you. I'm happy for you that he disappeared.
Thank you. Thank you.
You deserve better than that. You need somebody that's going
to
that's going to protect the budding relationship and not have the other just for no reason, unless he could really explain this to you and say, look, I spoke about this to my mother. You know, we've got such family differences that it's going to cause a lot of tension and chaos. Let's talk about these differences. Could they, or is my mother just out to lunch here? I don't like that he wasn't vulnerable. And, you know, all he said is, I like you, but my mother doesn't. Wow. You know, I don't like him.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm your mom,
and actually, he became the victim, which is, no, I don't either anymore. Now that I was feeling foggy when I called. For the last couple of days, I was just feeling like, what on earth? But, you know, I felt confused by it. And I noticed that he immediately felt like the victim. When I shared that I was disappointed, and I did it very gently, and I used I statements. And I did say, you know, how would it have been if you'd asked her not to get involved in your relationship? And he was just like, wow, why would I do that? Like, I thought, oh my goodness.
Well, okay. Thank you. You just said it all. Why would I do that? Why would a man tell his mother, sorry, mom, I'm 61 years old. I have a mind of my own. I like this woman. There's no reason for me not to continue it. Sorry that you don't like her. But at this point in my life, it's about me liking her. Unless you have a really good reason, you know, like you found out that she's an axe murderer, or that she defrauded somebody, or does massive amounts of drugs, or I don't know, you know, there are things that a mother would say, whoa, 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 I don't want my son getting involved with this person. But it doesn't sound like you have any of those huge red flags going on.
No, absolutely not. And the mother's never met me, and she doesn't even live in our city.
Boy, she's got a lot of power over him. So let's mind map this.
She has a lot of power.
Okay.
I thought it was interesting that he became a victim in the situation, though. When I shared that I felt disappointed, in his response, he really became a victim, and he could not hear my disappointment at all.
Okay, he cannot hear you because guess who's more
No.
than you are?
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah.
There we go. There we
There
go.
we go.
Thank
So
you, Dr. Judy.
you're
I
welcome.
feel much better.
You feel better? I'm going to mind map it really quickly, okay?
Thank you. Oh,
And
I'd love that.
okay, so I'm going to go through panel one and I'm going to pretend that I know more than I know because, of course, I don't know the mom. I don't know him. So I'm just going to go by the theoretical information here. So panel one, what are his wounds? I would say the mother was powerful and controlling and that they were enmeshed. So he didn't really separate from his mother. So that's panel one, his wounds of childhood, too enmeshed, okay? Too much of a controlling mom. His reaction to the wound is that he didn't really want to confront or venture out, so that he became kind of dialed down and internal. Instead of expressive, he went internal. His panel three core beliefs may be something like, I'm kind of venturing a guess that I'm very important to my mother, and whatever she says is the way that we're going to establish the laws of the land. So if somebody comes along and doesn't fit with the original blueprint, look what happens. Let's go to panel 4, 5, 6. Chaos, meaning he undoes the whole budding relationship, and then he gets defensive, right? Oh, no, I'm
Yes.
the victim. Oh, no, of course I'm going to listen to my mother. What are you talking about? She's right, we're right. And then break down. Then the relationship snaps and breaks. See? Okay? That's not who you want to be with. You want to be with somebody who's synergistic.
No. Yes.
Okay, somebody who will say, it's interesting. I was talking to my mother and she wasn't really much of a fan, but what I told her is, this is a fabulous woman and she's becoming important to me and I'm going to continue to date her. Even if you insist that I not be with her, I'm sorry, Mom, but I'm in my 60s. I'm, like any age, any adult age, but come on, Mom. You need some help. Are you lonely? Are you afraid that I'm gonna leave you for another woman? Which, maybe she's afraid. Why did he get divorced?
He claims his divorce happened because his mother-in-law interfered in his marriage.
Wow, a lot of mothers here, huh? Mother-in-law.
I know.
Yeah. So now his mother's interfering. What is this, payback time or something? I don't know.
It feels like a WTF, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, again, I'd want to know much more about the mother, but I'm so glad that you didn't get embroiled in this, and you need a man
Me
who
too.
will stand
Me
up
too.
for be a stand for the relationship, not topple over and fall into chaos, defenses, and breakdowns just because his mother blows a smoke into the
Yeah.
situation unnecessarily. Okay, there was no fire. There was no need. You're not sounding like a major deal breaker. So I know this is tough, but you want a man, okay? You want a
Yes, I
mature
do.
adult who's separated and individuated. And that's what dating is
Yeah.
for. And so does that feel correct to your mind that this guy's not for you?
It feels absolutely clear. And for 2 days, I've been feeling confused, and I don't feel confused anymore. So thank you so much. And if you have any dating tips, I'm all ears on your show and I'm listening in. But it's different in our 60s. Like I'm wondering, are we supposed to date? Like I was in a quasi arranged traditional marriage from a very young age. And so now I'm widowed and I'm wondering, how do we do this? Like it's a different world.
Well, first of all, I suggest that you date within your religion, within your community, okay? And
Yes.
find people who are like-minded because you have much better a chance to reestablish your values, value dating, okay? And you know, how do you do it? There's no easy way to do this. You just have to ask the right questions. So when we get off the phone, I'll get into that. What questions to ask and how to hold your boundaries until you know that this is the correct person for you. Okay.
I very much hold my boundaries. I'm really good with that. But I thank you so much.
You're welcome. And if you need dating help, you're free to reach out. And of course, I would love to make sure that you don't end up in bad hands. So anytime you can reach out to me. Okay.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the books and the mind mapping and the freedom that you brought into my life over the years is beautiful. And I'm really grateful, including it really helped me cope with the passing of my beautiful husband.
I bear my condolences, and you sound like a wonderful woman, and only a wonderful man should deserve a person like you.
Thank you so much. And thank you again.
My pleasure. Okay, so really appreciate you calling in. And let's go back to dating deliberately. So, you know, dating is supposed to be lighthearted and fun and haha. And yeah, sure, go have fun. However, I think that dating is also an interview. You know, you're not on a date until you know that you have in front of you a potential mate. So I like the idea of dating to mate. And that means that you've got to ask tough questions. And most people don't like to do it because they think they're going to ruin the fun. They think that they're going to come on too strong or be offensive. Well, you know, I'm not a person to care much for people who are offended by hard questions that are going to make every bit of difference to my life. So you want to know things like, what are your values? Do you want children? How do you deal with money? Are you neat? Are you clean? What kind of sexual appetite do you have? Do you still enjoy physicality? Would you prefer emphasis more on staying in at night, or are you an active person? Do you want to travel? I mean, these are just some of the things, but the core values, right? The core values. How do they treat other people? Is there a kindness about them? Do you think that you can grow together? Do you think you can have each other's backs? And mainly, is that person safe and trustworthy? Because if they're not even safe and trustworthy, and that's a very broad conversation, because they could be loyal and trustworthy, or they could be loyal but not trustworthy because they're not really satisfying your emotional needs. So what's so great about being married to a loyal man when all you are is a bird in a cage, and he is not going to pay attention to you or meet your needs or be interested in who you are and find out about what makes you happy and what makes you grow as an individual, and also how to do that as a partner. So there are different types of loyalty. It's not just, is he going to be loyal sexually to me? Is he going to be loyal by investing his time? Is he loyal to my feelings? Is he having my back? Is he interested, or she? You could just use whatever term you want here. I'm just using he as an example. So there are lots of ways to deliberately date, but again, it's the same concept. Values, principles, religion, politics, children, the way you treat other people. Do you like animals? Do you have allergies? Like, I wouldn't want to be with somebody who's allergic to dogs because I love dogs. I have dogs. So what am I going to do? Invite somebody into my life that is allergic to dogs and is going to be sneezing and scratching all day? I don't think that's a smart idea. So some of it is just very practical. Do you want somebody that is flat broke? That's not a good idea if you are financially stable. You don't want to take somebody on that's broke, because that means that if there are any problems in the future, guess who's going to pay? So please think practicality, not just how cute he or she is and how much fun you're having and so on. It's a big deal. You know, we're not picking for fun. We're picking for a life partner. Is that person going to be there if I'm sick and I need somebody to rely on health-wise? These are the qualities that you want in another human being. So just in general, dating the mind map way is, I'll review it again, making sure that mentally you're healthy, that you have a partner that has worked through their childhood wounds, somebody who's not either imploding and keeping it all stuck inside or has low impulse control and exploding all over the place and reactive all the time. Somebody who comes from a structured blueprint that is going to be viable and sustainable, a good family structure, or at least has built their own structure that's going to sustain. And then someone who doesn't have a lot of defenses. And let me get into that just a little bit more before the end of the show. You don't want somebody defensive like this gentleman. Why is it that your mother doesn't like me? Well, you know, come on. People deserve a conversation about that at the very minimum. So defenses could include drugs are defense, alcohol, drugs, anything that numbs you out are defensive ways. They don't help people to connect. They distance. So if you look at panel number 5, defenses is a way of distancing and keeping away, and it doesn't lend for interconnection. And then you want somebody, obviously, who will, instead of breaking down and ending things, will fight to break through. They'll fight to go to therapy. They'll fight to tell you their truth. They'll have the difficult conversations. They won't just end it just because. If they have to end it, they have to end it. However, they don't just end it on a lark. They fight for it and see if they can repair. And so that is dating deliberately, dating consciously, dating the mind map way. And if anybody needs help with making sure that they choose well, then please feel free to reach out. So if there are no other questions in the chat room.
That's about it.
Okay, I really appreciate everybody and my call in. Thank you so much for calling in. And that book is called Lucid Darkness. And I'll just say a couple words about it. I was thinking about that book that I wrote, over 10 years ago. And it was about a psychologist who comes back from Israel, and she's lecturing about world peace, bringing Arab and Israeli nations together because she has a big heart for joining the human race into a humane race. And then she gets invited to Gaza City, okay? The Jewish psychologist, of course, that would be me, gets invited to Gaza City. And unfortunately, she ends up on the wrong bus to the people that she's supposed to go to, and she doesn't end up there. And then chaos ensues, and she has to use her mind map to get out of the conundrum, and she has to contend with all the forces that are trying to kill the idea of joining people together in a humane way and creating a united humanity, because as we all know, there's money in wars. Somebody tends to profit by them, except mostly the people don't, okay? And so that was the intention of the book. It was called Lucid Darkness. Sometimes you have to go through the darkness to get to the light. And ironically, how true that book is today, because so much is happening between Arab countries, Israel and Gaza, and there's no peace plan, and it's very, very, very sad. And so back in the day, that was my imaginary peace plan, to go there and bring peace and create a human race called Join the Human Race. And if anybody wants to know what my original intention was with the mind map, go to my other website called Healing Global Disconnect. And I'll go there right now and I'll just read you the little, here, let me put on my, here, Tony, can you go there right now? Maybe you can read it.
To where again?
HealingGlobalDisconnect.com. Why don't you put it up there? HealingGlobalDisconnect.com.
Okay.
Okay.
All righty.
And you'll see a globe, right?
I do.
Put that up if you will, and then maybe I can read it off the
Let's see here.
page.
Let me move it over.
Yeah, and then go slide down a little bit. Healing Global Disconnect. Slide down a little bit more. Okay. Okay, so now you can read that little middle paragraph.
Whoops.
Why don't you read it? Go ahead.
Okay, let me read it. Let me get back.
It says, as a human race, we have fractured.
Over here. Here it is. As a human race, we have become fragmented into nations, religions, social classes, politics, and races. This fragmentation has resulted in clash and fallout in the form of human, how do you say atrocities? There we go.
Yeah.
Do you want me to finish it out?
Yeah.
It says, although we have been able to soar to unlimited heights to many areas of human endeavor, we have yet to accomplish the final and most important frontier, to come together as a united humanity.
Thank you. Yeah. We haven't done that yet.
Nope.
So that was the original intention of the mind map. Back in 2001, it was called Join the Human Race. And my macro model became a micro model for healing human disconnect. So it went from healing global disconnect to healing human disconnect, because in order for us to be healthy globally, we have to be healthy individually. So for anybody who wants more assistance in their dating and healing from childhood wounds, please reach out to me and know that I have a video available, a couple of videos available, and we're available. Myself and my teammates are available to help you grow and to make sure that you don't fall into chaos, defenses, and breakdowns. So thank you everyone for joining in. Good night. Thank you.